Hello, welcome back to Dr. Cool Auto Fix channel. In today's video edition here, a customer brought a car which you can see right here on the screen, and the battery light is on. What the hell happened? When you have a battery light on that is constantly on when the car is on, normally the battery light should come on when you turn on the ignition on. Then as soon as you start up the car, which is actually a test verification, the battery light should turn off. But this one here, the battery light is constantly on. So what the hell is the problem? If you are stuck in this kind of situation, then don't worry, stick around and we're gonna diagnose this very car together to know exactly the reason why the battery light is on. Meanwhile, I will not advise you to quickly head into the power store, AutoZone, and all the zones to get the parts replaced, because that might not be exactly where the problem is coming from, but sometimes it can actually be. So I am going to be running a serious diagnostics here to know where the problem is. Now, for most of you who don't know how to troubleshoot, maybe the alternator is not charging the battery, to manually test it. One of the simple tests which most often times people perform on the car is that they can take off the terminals of the battery while the engine is running. If the car shut off, then that's a sign, a clear sign, a hot sign to engage that the alternator is dead. But in this case, that is obviously not the case. We pulled out the terminals and still the car runs. However, the battery light is on, and the customer says he just replaced this very alternator. This very problem was there previously, then he replaced this very alternator. That's why I say you shouldn't rush into going to replace the alternator. So there are a lot of factors that can actually contribute to it. So I'm scanning this very car right now, so we're gonna take a look at it together. I'll show you exactly what to do when you have this kind of problem. So the first thing first is to log into the live stream data with your computer and take a look at the live stream data that is supplying you. Our key component and target here, which we're going to be taking a look at here to track it, is going to be the power that is being generated by the alternator. Because if the power that is being generated by the alternator is having an interference with any part of the electrical system, then we're going to have a problem. Now you can see here we're having the voltage of the battery there with the car on as 12 volts. That is not surprising to me. You can see it right there standing right in front of me. It goes to 12.1 and it goes to 12 volts. So that is one of the reasons why this battery light is showing on. This problem might be stemming from a bad brush that is due for replacement, or a charge controller that is dead and need a replacement. And sometimes it can be out of these two. It might not be that the charge controller is bad, but that there is an interference in the wiring, the charging wiring, that is coming back to feed the system. So any interference such as a short circuit, such as open circuit, such as any some sort of interference that poses a resistance, a high resistance to the flow of the current, is gonna draw the power. Then other things which you're also gonna be looking at here, which is the big guy in the house, is a voltage drop. So at this very moment here, everything has to be taken into consideration. A very good voltage test has to be performed within the system circuit to be sure that there is no short along the line that is creating a mess or a loose contact, because if you replace the first alternator and the second one and the problem is still persisting, then you need to figure out exactly why the power is not coming to how it's supposed to be. Because on this 12.1 volts, that is technically telling you that the power that is being generated by this alternator cannot even charge the battery sufficiently, and therefore this might shut off the car anytime sooner. And that is another thing which the owner actually complained about, that the car shut off randomly. And while looking at it on my live stream data here, I can see it clearly that the power that is being supplied to charge the battery is insufficient for the battery, not to mention giving out to the entire system of the car, such as the ECU, the injectors, the other electronics, and the actuators within the system. So they are having a low power within the system, and this can cause a whole lot of arrays of problem, right? This can damage a lot of things. When you start having a low voltage like this, I don't advise you keep driving the car, because there are a lot of parts that are going to be going into ruin anytime sooner because of this very mess. The first thing you want to do after discovering that the power is insufficient or some sort of fluctuating, then you want to arrest it. Here, when I put it on the live stream here on the graph here, I think you can see it right there that is alternating between 11.9. So that's not a good sign. A very good alternator or the line that is the alternator power that is generated, no matter the interference, shouldn't be anything less than 13.7. Some car might have 14.5 in the alternator, which is still pretty good. However, if it goes outside that 14.5, then it could be very alarming. And sometimes it is very, very imperative or pertinent to actually check the manufacturer specification in regard to the amount of power which the generator or the alternator, as you may call it, is supposed to put out. And anything above what the manufacturers has set for that very car or below is unhealthy for the system sustainability and utilities, and it's going to be creating more problem than solution for you. So I recommend you take the car to a very good electrical troubleshooter who is going to troubleshoot the problem for your car and provide a lasting solution in regard to this very problem. On the second phase of this very problem here, the customer complains that the car shut off randomly when driving. Now, looking at this very data which I just shared with you guys here, that is typically indicating that there is every tendency that the alternator power that is being disrupted, maybe due to bad ground strap, maybe due to excitation wire that goes to charge the battery, is having some sort of a short or some kind of some kind of interference can cause the system to shut off when the system finish absorbing the power from the battery, and the insufficient power that is being generated by the alternator is not enough to keep the car or the engine running. The engine is gonna stall and shut off. However, there are some other factors which you need to actually put into consideration when you're having this kind of problem, especially when you notice that the power being generated by the alternator is not completely terrible and is ranging between 13.5 to 13.7, which is pretty much good in some car make. You're gonna find out in VW and some Asian model. So in that regard, you're also going to be looking at the crankshaft position sensor. Most oftentimes in Toyota crankshaft position sensor can actually cause it. A bad fuel pump can also cause it. For most Toyotas, you might not see any error code regarding a bad crankshaft position sensor. However, that doesn't mean that they are not bad, especially when it's shut off randomly. At the time of this very diagnostics troubleshooting, I checked the engine electronics and it doesn't seem to have any error code relating to a bad crankshaft position sensor. So in that regard, I am not saying that it doesn't have those problems. Why? Because the ECU can be responding very slowly. I might need some circles of driving to be able to set up the right data which you need to read when you plug in your computer on board diagnostics to pull out the error code. However, some German makes can be very spontaneous. When you decided to pull the error code, you might get a very instant result of exactly what's going on inside the system, and use that as a yardstick measure to know where to dive in your troubleshooting capability and get the problem resolved and go home happily with a customer. So a bad fuel pump can also cause this sort of problem. So do not leave anything out of the sight. When a car shut off randomly, intermittently, you need to take a look at the charging system just like I checked here. I hope you find this very helpful. Do give this video a thumbs up to help it rank with others and share with others who are having a problem with their Toyota or Japanese model cars shutting off on the road randomly. Bye for now. I'll catch you later.